Hey Amarillo, I'm Skylar Gallup, and you're listening to Hey Amarillo, the interview podcast featuring some of the most interesting people and stories of Amarillo, Texas. We record every week at Amarillo College's Innovation Outpost. The I.O. supports education, workforce development, and industry growth by inspiring and facilitating innovation in the Texas Panhandle. Today's guest is Laurie Higgins-Kerley. Laurie founded and runs Dove Creek Equine Rescue and its equine therapy program led by horses. These organizations have impacted so many people and horses and their abilities to heal and live and thrive in community and herd. And it was all born of grief. Laurie shares how the hardest lessons taught her how to guide others, human and animal, through their own hardships. And it's a beautiful story. Here's Laurie. Laurie Higgins-Kerley, welcome to the Hey Amarillo podcast.
Thank you. So glad to be here.
Really excited to talk to you. As we dig in, let's start with, where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Jackson, Mississippi,
Ooh.
so from the deep South. And
Nice.
got here in 1990 with my late husband.
So what was Jackson, Mississippi? How old were you when you left Mississippi?
I was early 30s.
Okay,
My
so
early
you
30s.
grew up there.
Yes.
That is where you're solidly from.
It's the deep South. It's a whole different culture.
Yeah.
Good and bad. I mean, it's got its issues that I don't need to go into.
Sure.
But I love so much about the Southern culture, the food, the social. I grew up in a very social environment. So I feel like that was great training, for what I'm doing now. So, but the social manners and, how you engage with people and, just the social intelligence.
And was that because your parents?
Yes.
Tell me, what set the table
they were
for that?
very much in the social scene. My father was a family physician in Jackson, and kind of in the time when he was a GP, and then family practice became a specialty. But he was part of that movement politically to get it established as a specialty. And then my mother was part of the garden clubs and junior league and all that stuff, and then my two sisters and I, we were a little bit rebellious because this is the 70s, that I grew up in.
Yeah.
And, a different time. I mean, a lot was going on like it is now. It seems like it always is, but just a different time. So we were a little bit rebellious and, at least I was. I think my sisters wouldn't agree. But, school wasn't my thing.
Okay.
Didn't like it. I don't know. I was kind of just a mischievous person. I wanted to be outside all the time. And I grew up as a swimmer, a competitive swimmer.
Ooh.
That's what we all did there. Swimming was very big. And for girls back then, there weren't that many options.
Yeah.
So we did pretty well. I swam up. I did a little intramural in college, but I was really done with those state awards by then. Because we started at 6 years old. So that was really young back then. But I'm grateful for that because I really feel like it helped my body be strong because now I'm aging. And I'm so grateful for that training at such a young age to just build that fortitude.
I totally agree. I was a competitive swimmer
You were?
in high school. Yes, ma'am.
Ah.
And similarly, it's so good for full body workout, and it's easy on your joints.
Yes.
And yeah, cool.
Yeah.
That's
Although I have had both shoulders replaced.
Oh.
So that's obviously my weak spot in my body, but
Yeah.
it's okay.
Yeah.
I'm okay now, but
It's part
that
of it.
was a lot of great memories, from swimming, and it was all, it was a big Southern sport.
That's interesting.
us,
I had
yeah.
no idea.
But-
So what brought you and your then husband to Amarillo?
So he was an orthopedic surgeon.
Okay.
And one of his fellowship opportunities that we both went to was in Lake Tahoe. And with
It's not bad.
the U.S. ski team doctor. It was Dr. Stedman. I don't even know if he's still alive. But anyway, great doctor. And,
Okay, so your husband was the orthopedic surgeon he got a fellowship for the U.S. ski team?
with the U.S. ski team doctor, yes.
How cool.
Dr. Stedman. And so who he met there was Dr. Bill Barnhill, who used to be here.
Oh, okay.
And so anyway, they got through with the fellowship, and we were thinking about staying because they were asked to stay, and but we decided to go back to Mississippi. Well, he got into practice, my late husband, and after a couple of years, or maybe a year, I can't remember how long it was, Bill called and said, how you doing over there? And Bob was like, he didn't really like his partners. I don't know what all was wrong, but he just wasn't very happy.
Sure.
And Bill said, hey, I need help, and I am blowing and going, and, I need some help, and busy. So he talked Bob into his, Bob said, let's go see what Amarillo's like. And I remember flying here, and I was like, wow, where are the trees? It just
from Mississippi.
Yes. I was used to these. I grew up with 13 oaks in our yard and lush, Mississippi. I was really horrified. I think I was just like, I am not moving here. No way. But we got here. We went and.
Now, were you working at the time?
No, I was having babies.
You were having babies.
Yeah.
So how many babies did you have when you came to Amarillo?
I had 2 at that time. Then I had 2 more here.
Okay.
Actually, I was involved a bit with our church, the Episcopal Church, the Catechesis of the Good Shepherd, which I ended up bringing here to St. Andrews when we came in 1990. I just remember we got here, they were taking us around. I met some doctors' wives. So they were trying to tell me what was great about Amarillo. Right. And I just remember thinking, I hate this place. It's so ugly. And so they took me around, and then I found Wolfland. They took me to Wolfland because Bob said, please look at a house like, I'm not happy. So I found Wolfland, and then I just sort of went, okay, these people are really nice. Mm-hmm. They're kind. And and I remember we were at lunch, doctors' wives and myself, and I wanted to know, what is great about Amarillo? And most all of them said it's the people. And I thought, the people? Okay, because it's really ugly here, but I'm glad it's the people. But I couldn't really connect to that because I had a lot of friends in Jackson and didn't really want to leave my parents and all that.
Yeah.
But we ended up coming. I fell in love with the house. It's in Wolfland. We don't live there anymore. But and the rest is history because it's true.
That's right.
It's true. It's the people. When he passed in 2008, I mean, the community was amazing. So, yeah.
Well, I'm glad y'all stuck around long enough to know what they meant when they said it's the people.
I know, and it's so funny because I do, I fly all over the place, and when I'm coming back, I'm always like, it's not ugly. It's a lot of grassland, and it's just not what I grew up with. But all my friends that come here from the Mississippi are always amazed at the beauty. Yeah. They do see it. I mean, but we, Dove Creek is in a canyon, so we live in a canyon.
Yeah, I think it's just not what you would immediately describe as a beautiful landscape.
Right.
And then you look at it, though, and go like, no, this is quite stunning.
Yeah, I think it calls some of us. I mean, a lot. I hear people complain about how ugly it is here, maybe going down I-40. But there are people here that really connect to the beauty. And it's the austere beauty, I think, that this place has, if you'll tune into it.
That's right.
And recognize it.
Well, or allow yourself to be open to it, kind of in the way that you and Bob did.
Looking for beauty. And when I first, we looked at Dove Creek probably in 93 or so, I just remember thinking, wow, this is beautiful when you're going down the road and then you drop into the canyon.
Yes, certainly. So, anytime you're in the canyons, it's like, this is not bad.
Yeah, it was quite a shock, but a wonderful one.
Yeah. So where'd the horses come in?
So we came here with 2 children. Then I had 2 more, and I'd gotten into showing. I didn't grow up with horses.
Okay.
Like I said, I was in the Catechesis of the Good Shepherd, so I was into that program when I got here, got very immersed in it, bringing it to St. Andrews in the church. Mm-hmm. And then the church burned. I don't remember what year. I'm terrible with dates, but
that's okay.
It burned down, and it was rebuilt.
Right.
Anyway, I ended my time with that, and somebody else, Kay Brizzolera, took it over.
Sure.
But in there, I became very interested. I wanted a horse. I purchased one right before we moved here. and then had that horse brought here. And I was just getting into showing, and I met a wonderful person, Kelly Weathers, who is a trainer, and she helped me buy another horse, and I started showing.
And did this come from you just thought it'd be cool, or
I've loved horses all my life,
Okay.
and my father would never let me have one because I was a swimmer, and we didn't have a place. My friends had horses at stables, and I got to go see them, but he just never let me have one. So I just knew one day I would have a horse, and I would ask every Christmas on my list, "Can I have a horse, please?" And so my sisters make fun of me about that. Like, you had no idea you were going to live with so many horses.
Right. Ask and you shall receive.
So I just got in because I was a competitive swimmer. I like competition.
Yeah.
And Kelly said, you can show. And I thought, oh, yeah. So I got into the AQHA circuit.
Cool.
And my oldest daughter, Caitlin, did as well as a youth. And we just had a blast for about 10 years, traveling around different shows. I even went back to Mississippi to the Dixie National, which is a national qualifier for world, I guess, and won there in one of my classes. So that was fun.
Oh, nice.
But I loved it. I did love it. And I don't know, I stopped after a while. I actually kind of fell into some troubled times for me.
Sure.
And, I had 4 kids, and it was... just hit some of my stuff I had to deal with, so I kind of stopped doing that. Yeah. And then Caitlin and my children got into sports. She's a big volleyball player and ended up playing in college.
Nice.
And my older son was doing his sports, and so it was just busy time, so I just didn't have time.
Yeah. It goes without saying, AQHA is such a huge part of the Panhandle culture.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about like what that community's like, what the being on the road and doing all of that's like with AQHA.
Oh yeah, such good memories. I love traveling, taking our horses. Odessa, Midland, those smaller shows, but just learning how do you do it in the ring, and how do you get with your horse and together in that short amount of time. With all the practice hours, can you really pull it off? And what I didn't know that I know now, because I do the work I do now, is that it had so much to do with my state of being. Was I nervous? Yeah, my horse was going to be nervous.
Yeah.
And we didn't show as well.
Yeah.
I kind of knew that stuff, but I was a different person on a horse then as I am now, because training methods were a little bit different back then. A little more force and, some domination, I would say, from humans.
Yeah.
So to perform a certain way, to move a certain way and respond a certain way. So, but we loved our horses. We took, they were so pampered. And just that camaraderie with different people you'd meet at the shows. And then you would see, I saw some things I didn't like that I think there were people that drug their horses back then. They were becoming more aware of that. I didn't see a lot of it. I'm just saying here and there I did.
Sure.
And some people that didn't treat their horses well, and you see the whole gamut.
Yeah.
But it still is a community, and you'd see the same people at different shows, and that was really fun. It was fun for Caitlin and me. And
how old was your daughter when y'all were running around? Well, I guess you did it for 10 years, so good amount of her childhood.
Well, I'd started without her, and then as she was like 7 or 8 when she started.
Oh, that's
she
so
did
sweet.
About 4 years and did really well, but then had to decide at 12, was she going to play volleyball or do horses? And so that's kind of how it kind of fizzled out. And then, Bob got sick.
Yeah.
So.
How old were your children whenever your husband got sick?
Abby, my youngest, it was 12. Hunter was 13. Caitlin was 3 years older than that. 16, 17, 16, yeah. And then my son Taylor's was 19. And he was sick about 1.5 years.
Okay. And it was cancer?
He passed in 2008, so they were a year older. That was a rough time.
Of course.
Still there.
And through that, talk to me about how that journey took you kind of back to horses.
Well, at that time, we had bought Dove Creek. We actually acquired, there was 2 sides. Bill Barnhill's partner had one side of that next to our property that we originally bought. And so anyway, we acquired the whole place, which is there was a barn that Bill had put on the property right by the little house. And there were 4 stalls and some turnout, a pen. So that we had some horses there at that time. And after he passed, I was just so devastated. But I had great friends. But the one place I could go was out there. And, it's a really healing place. That land has got a lot of history. It's sacred land. I mean, it's felt by everybody that comes down. I mean, everybody. And so I would just feel better being down there. And then the horses seemed to know that, I would just stand there like broken open. And they would surround me like part of their herd. And I knew them. I mean, one was my former show horse and my daughters, so they were older. And there were a couple of other people there that were boarding. And so that I just would feel, I don't know, I felt lifted, like some of that heaviness, some of that just devastation, that grief would move. It would shift. And so every time I would leave the ranch, I would spend a couple of hours down there when the kids were in school. And when I would leave, I always had hope. And that is a huge thing to have when you're in grief, is have hope. Because
hopeful for what?
Just that I wouldn't feel like this forever. And that, because, when grief hits, it's like, it's heavy. And it demands our attention. And I think it's the deepest journey our souls take, especially, those that we love. And I think because we do grief workshops at the ranch, I get to see a lot of people and how they navigate it and how I felt I wanted to find, what is some help here? I want some relief. I need relief. And so, you're always searching for relief, and that can lead to some bad habits that happen during grief. But I was so amazed at how I'd feel with those horses. I really wanted more of that. And then my dog too would help. We'd go on these long walks out we lived in the colonies at that time, and there was just an open field because they hadn't developed the whole thing yet.
Right.
And I would walk in that field, but and it requires you to be alone and to ponder and reflect and honor your love, honor your heart. It demands that. And if I didn't do it, I didn't do well. But if I could just spend a little time, maybe daily, honoring it, taking a walk, going out to the ranch, I did better. I could be somewhat okay as a mom. I wasn't that great, but so I learned a lot in that journey. I knew that the horses had this, I thought it was like some sixth sense, like, how do they know? I've just been telling them what to do in the show world, loving on them, but, we're doing it together and competing. But how do they know? It's like they knew. They helped do something about it. And I didn't know what that was. I just know how I'd feel when I left. And I would call my mom and go, you know what? If I have horses in my life, I'm going to be okay. Because there were times I did not think I would be okay.
Yeah.
Is this going to last how many years? And it's I feel for people going through it because I know how scary, tough, dark it can be.
The notion of that you must pay your grief the attention it demands is really strong.
I've studied it a lot, read different people, different times about it. And there's some great, Francis Weller is one of the authors I love. He talks about it. You can call it a companion. Some people call it an entity. I mean, I don't really like the sound of that word, but it's this presence that's always there. And I learned to see it as a teacher. And I had some help. I had gotten some help by that time because I've studied a lot of paths of healing since I was in my 20s. I've always been very interested in healing, whether it's emotional, mental, spiritual, all that. So I had some teachers that I could connect to, and just to see it as a teacher, not a tyrant. And we're just not taught that very well in our culture.
No,
that
no.
It's just, get on, do whatever you need to do to get past it. I don't think we have learned to honor those in grief and how to care for those in grief. But it has taken me to go, going through that journey to learn about what is support. And one thing that, I have friends that have lost people, and I have learned that, when you go, well, let me know if I can help, not the right thing. I don't know what I need, but if you know them well enough, hey, I'll pick up the kids today.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm going to bring a meal tonight. It's not asking people because we're so, we don't know what we need.
Right.
Don't know hardly anything.
Yeah.
So learning to support people, knowing what it is they need and what you could do, and just different ways of knowing how to approach it. Because I know so many of us want to help when we have a dear friend or family member. What can we do? That's been a real learning journey about just being present with somebody. And that sounds kind of like present, but that is so important.
Yeah.
It's like truly being in the moment with somebody.
Yeah. It's really hard to think about the educational, emotional journey that you must have been through to be able to sit here and say that you let your grief be a teacher.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've had.
That's so foreign. That's.
It is, and I that's probably why I'm committed to doing our grief groups at Dove Creek through the Led by Horses program, because I know it's a need. I know we need to have resources, and education, for this journey, because it's, to me, lots of people have grief. I mean, maybe collectively we're going through some grief, but loss is real, and I feel like the more we can honor that. I mean, for me, my grief journey taught me a lot about joy, because I could really connect. I felt like I was connected to my soul in many ways at times. And that's where joy lives too. Spirit, soul, however you want to call it. Yeah. That depth of me, honoring that love, I found joy. I had, right there with grief is joy. It's kind of right there with it. And, I would go through these like times of wailing, and then I would have this lift of joy. So it's, because we're made up of emotions, and grief encompasses all of them.
Yes.
I think there's still a lot to do with that, but horses are amazing at meeting people where they are in their emotional turmoil. Yeah, helping them shift it, and that we can talk about how that happens. Helping them shift it so that peace comes, that peace, that relief. And like, that's possible. I just have to pay attention to it.
Yeah, you have to pay it its mind.
Yeah, and a little bit every day that you can do. Then it doesn't infiltrate all of your life. It's almost like your psyche knows. Okay, every day if I pay some attention, do some journaling, do some walking.
Here's your time.
Reflect. This is time with grief, my companion. Yeah. My teacher. Then it's like your mind doesn't have to, it doesn't infiltrate everywhere. Right. I'm not a psychologist, so I don't know how to even express that. No, it's a but it can picture. Take over. Yeah. And in honoring it, it's just not something, we've been taught a lot about.
I would love to tell you about Ingenic Dental Studio here in town. Dr. Jake Motery is my family's dentist, and he and his staff give us just the best family dental experience. But his practice and expertise go so much further than my kids' cavities and my routine cleanings. Dr. Motery specializes in cosmetic and implant dentistry. And I've seen some of the work he's done, and it is just gorgeous. It's not over the top, very natural looking, but his results really change a person's whole look. So if you're looking for family or personal dental care, or for a more aesthetically enhancing experience, check out Ingenic Dental Studio online or at their location on Georgia Street, right next to Market Street and Steak Express. That's Ingenic Dental Studio. They're a supporter of the podcast and do really great work. So how did you go from walking in your own grief, in your own pasture with the horses, to deciding that you had something to share with other people on that journey?
So over the next few years, I kept doing that. And then I ended up building a big indoor arena, because I was going to go back to showing.
Okay.
And I wanted to practice my patterns. So I built an 80 by 160 indoor arena.
Just a small space.
It was the next year because I was left the ranch and I thought, what am I going to do? I've always been one that I want to expand and grow always. I love being a mom, but I'm one of those that always wants to be doing something else as well, learning. And so I built the barn, but I just was not the same person. I mean, I don't even know if I ever did one pattern in there. As that process was happening, I was realizing that I wanted to help horses, because I know we're in horse country. And I knew Terry Gamage, who had run Panhandle Safe Haven Equine. She was a rescue. And I talked to her and actually had taken a couple of her horses to help. And I started learning I said, Terry, is there room for two of us if I want to do this?
Right.
She said, oh, yeah. So I started thinking about, what if I just became a horse rescue and rehab center and tried to find them a new home, and sat with that for about a year, and then decided, okay, I'm going to do it. I mean, it's divine providence, intervention, whatever.
Yeah.
I just didn't have the competitive spirit anymore in the way that I did previous. And I was different. My heart was different. I knew that they needed help. I'd seen enough. Mm-hmm. And so I started in 2012 with a tiny little board and just started taking in horses once people heard. Big learning curve. All I had really been around were horses that were well taken care of.
Yeah.
I did not have a lot of knowledge about horses that were neglected and abused.
And what is the, forgive my ignorance, what are like the common circumstances from where you get your horses?
Well, law enforcement, we work with them. You know, they all have animal officers who go to those cases when they get called about an animal that looks neglected or abused or any compromised circumstance.
Okay.
So that's one area. And then we have people, this took a while, but owners that could no longer either take care of their horse or no longer wanted their horse or needed their horse. Different life situations happen.
Sure.
So those are the two ways horses come in. Okay. But at first it was mostly just neglect and abuse, because I did know the law enforcement agents then. As time went, we got more surrenders too. And sometimes those horses weren't in great shape. A lot of times they were, but a lot of behavioral issues
with the horses.
Came in.
Yeah.
So I had a guy there that worked at the ranch, because when my husband passed, we had cattle, and I was trying to figure that out and realized it wasn't my cup of tea. I didn't grow up with cattle. Didn't know a lot. But I tried to start this grass-fed beef operation where we sold the beef. I bought a Akaushi bull and mated them with Angus. So it was just something somebody told me to do that, I had a lot of helpers trying to tell this poor woman on how to run a ranch. So I tried a couple of different things, but that all fizzled out, and I just realized I wanted to help horses. Yeah. So we got some behavioral issues, and there was a guy there, David, who could ride the horses. So he helped me for a while, a few years, and then as we got better at it, and I'm telling you, there were days I was like, what am I doing? I don't know why I'm doing this. God, I don't know why you told me to do this, because it's not working. I've got to have money to this, because I used my own money in the beginning. Yeah. Probably the first couple of years.
Wow.
And realized this isn't going to work. Yeah. They're expensive. And it wasn't that many. I mean, we might have had 10 horses. So just trying to help the behavioral issues, help them come out of those and relearn. That was quite quite a deal. And then, some of them were fine. Then David left, and I hired another trainer. And that's when we really started taking off. And we started a volunteer program because we had more horses. We actually amassed them pretty quickly because people started hearing.
I imagine when word gets out.
Yeah. And I took everything. It's like, okay, whatever. Yeah, come on. And we ended up with 40 horses. It was probably 4 years into that, and I was like, this is too many. Because we let them, the thing about Dove Creek is it's pretty much, I don't know, 2.5 sections.
Okay.
So, but it's divided by fence.
Yeah.
And so we gave the horses 500 or 600 sections. They can roam in the bottom part of the canyon where the barn is. And then they can go up on the mesa. So they're able to roam in a herd, which is a beautiful thing. Yeah. It's a gift. So that they can be in their natural environment and work out a lot of issues that horses that had not been in a herd can do. They can learn those social cues and develop social intelligence in a herd. We amassed too many, and then we hired a trainer, and we started the board grew. I started amassing a board.
Yeah.
Actually, the leader of the Boy Scouts at that time, Phil Shipley, he was on our board. And he helped me a lot about how to run a nonprofit and having protocols on what are the amount of horses that you can keep and still maintain, a pretty decent budget. So learning all those things, and then I met Greg pretty early into it as well in 2013, my current husband. And he's a ex-CFO and had a lot of financial knowledge and helped me learn to track expenses. I mean, financial strategy is not my thing.
So it's so common, I think, whenever people have a passion or a skill set for, horses or for this or that. And so they want to put that to work, and then they start a nonprofit and then realize they don't have a skill set for nonprofit. And thankfully, I think there's a lot of resources in town to kind of not to honor, okay, great, you want to help horses and you love horses and you're so good at horses. Let's talk about bylaws.
And just, doing that. And
governance.
The one thing I think, being married to Bob, we did have a large social circle. Yeah. So I was really calling on my people that, well, who do you know? Great. What do you know? And so I'm so driven. Yeah. I mean, most people know this that know me. I'm very driven, so I'm not a quitter. So I was just going to I did find the right people to talk to. Yeah. So that, because there were, I can't believe I kept going. But because there were some tough times in there where's the money? But learning how to fundraise. My social skills. I started just talking to people about what horses were doing for us. We're helping them, but what are they doing for us? There's change happening. Everybody that would come down there would say that, wow, I just feel so much better. I'm calmer. I don't feel the stress. I mean, it just happened over and over. And that's when I decided to go get trained in equine assisted coaching.
And what is that? Yeah, explain what equine assisted coaching is.
So it's partnering with horses for many reasons, because it's through activities that we do for emotional regulation, for self-discovery. They're highly emotionally intelligent. And they've been around for 56 million years. So they carry that 56 million years of evolutionary intelligence. So they know how to survive in a herd. There's so much to learn from horses in how to not only survive but thrive. And so it's partnering with horses to gain more clarity, find that peace and calm, because they start to regulate. When we're in their presence, there start to be what's called heart rate coherence. They start to entrain our heart rate. They have this ability, and it's, in research and science and all that. Of course. It's about frequency, and they can measure it. But that starts to happen when we, come into their presence. And so when that happens, our blood pressure reduces, and we start to feel more peace and calm. And it happens over and over. We started this program led by horses in 2017, and just hearing such similar comments all the time about, wow, I feel peaceful. I feel calm. And then when we're in that state, our parasympathetic nervous system is activated. We can get to so much more. We find solutions easier in our lives, that whatever it is we're looking for, relationship issues, communication issues that seem to be a big issue for people is learning how to communicate authentically. They help us find our true self. That's what I always say, that the real you comes out when you're with the horse. When I'm doing a session with somebody and they're stuck somewhere.
Yeah.
And we start to, I start to ask different questions, and it's very intuitive. I mean, horses are highly intuitive and sensitive. So they always say, well, they can read you kind of like an X-ray machine. They know what's going on. They can read our intentions. They can read our emotions, and they know when it's not congruent. We're not congruent in our thoughts and feelings, because we often judge how we feel. We don't like how we always feel. So there's not really an acceptance of that. So we develop coping mechanisms.
I'm fine.
Yeah. I'm fine. And we
this
convince
is someone
ourselves.
else's fault. It's not, not my issue.
Right.
All the things. Sure.
And they can tell that.
See right through it.
They can. And so what's beautiful about that is there's no judgment. They're so compassionate. They just help us see that. They help us realize that. And then we start to, whatever it is, that emotion that we don't want to feel, whether it's sadness or frustration or whatever, we allow it. And there's an acceptance there. And so I was working with a youth group one time, and one of the females in the youth group said, that horse made me admit how I really feel. So
wow.
That's how
old?
she read that. She was about 17.
Wow.
That horse made me admit how mad I am. And so that's what happens. It's just that realization of it's okay to feel this way. It's just okay. And in our society, that's an issue.
Yeah, there are so many ways to feel that are not okay.
Right.
Societally.
Right. And it's just, and that's what, makes me sad, but I'm so glad we have the horses to help people, not only with grief, but transitions in life. And I brought this because I wrote this out a long time ago, but it's helping the youth that are so troubled in our community, but everywhere, but in our community. And it's about not knowing how to navigate emotions and getting stuck. And we're getting more calls about it, and how horses meet you right where you are, and they're nonverbal. So what they start to help us tap into is our, somatic sensory system, is where are we in our bodies? Because we're all up here in our minds.
That's
and
right.
Trying to figure everything out, but we've got to access where a lot of information is in our body. That book, The Body Keeps a Score. Yeah. It's like learning to build that relationship and listen deeper. Like, right now I have this pain it's right here by my shoulder, and it's some tension, and it has to do with kind of what I'm going through right now. But if I can just tune into it, and breathe with it, it starts to shift. Like I'm paying attention. I'm giving attention. And it's really how we shift emotions, because they're stored in our body, our traumas. And so through a very gentle process with horses, they help us get there and start to shift it. It's like they help us have more clear attention, ability to focus. Because focus is an issue with a lot of people as well.
Of course, yeah.
And learning, so we do a lot of presence. You can feel present in the moment with a horse. It kind of worries me. I mean, if I didn't live in that canyon with the horses, there's a lot of ADHD, the mind that really has a hard time shutting off. And so through different practices and techniques that we teach with the horses, being in the presence of the horses, people learn to start to feel that peace and that calm in their body. And when you have that experience, you can take it with you.
You have a youth group out there, for example. What are you doing with them?
Let's see, that one that I was talking about, it was part of the Boy Scouts, I think, group. And, they come for more team building, leadership, team building. That's usually what, we love that, because we have some fun activities to do with groups, depending on what their issues are. But in any work environment, you're just going to have a lot of personalities.
Oh, yeah.
And to work on communication, developing some emotional intelligence and compassion for others, building trust, feeling safe. These are some of the qualities that horses teach us. Is, safety is number one for them.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they've been around so long. Once we have safety, we can connect to each other, but we have to feel safe first. And that's an issue with a lot of people. They don't feel safe.
Huge.
So we're still working on safety, but once we can connect, we can feel peace in our body. These are the 7 pillars that we go by, what horses teach us. We can feel peace, and then once we feel peace, we have access to freedom, some freedom, and then comes joy. And that's held together through care and presence, being really present. And that's kind of hard to find people that will be really present like you and I are right now. We're in this moment together. And that feels different when, you're sitting with somebody and they're kind of on their phone or they're not really present. That's not connection. So care and presence. So the leader of the horse herd is the one who cares the most for the whole. And that can look like a very calm, gentle horse. It's not the dominant one you think is running the herd.
Yeah.
The horse herd shares leadership roles. This has all been written about. But in our herd at Dove Creek, there's one horse who cares the most, and he is obviously the leader. His name is Roscoe. And he shares it with some other horses too, but he is the one. And so I think that's such a teaching for us is leadership, is who cares the most for the whole. And so that's how we approach team building and with groups and leadership and different styles of leadership. And so that, everybody has a voice, and everybody doesn't want to be out in front.
Right.
And horses actually a lot of times lead from behind. They're not the big showy horse. They're leading from behind. And so how does that apply to humans? It might be the quietest one in the room that's the leader, but observing, tuning in. How's everybody doing? Where's everybody? Just a lot of, emotional intelligence, social intelligence.
Yeah, those are some hugely relevant and valuable lessons to be able to help share with groups.
Yeah.
Laurie, we've also gotten quite a bit away from the grief of your husband's passing. And what I'm thinking about is, starting with that and moving to, I want to share the healing that the horses shared with you, and then kind of exploring and experiencing the huge, broad deck of offerings that horses can teach people. You're doing a whole lot more than grief counseling through horses.
Horses can address any issue. Emotional, mental, that's really the realm. Because when you're working on healing some emotional or mental issue, it could be some place you're stuck in your mind about a limiting belief that affects your emotions. When we can start to align and heal, that affects our physical and our spiritual world. So I feel like the mental, emotional are really the realm we're working in. But people come with a lot of physical pain. So often they leave and they're like, I don't feel it. It's because it's somewhere in here, and they've addressed it. They've paid attention and honored it in a way. Because often with stuck emotion in our bodies, there's something in there that we're trying to learn and maybe address that just has been too hard to, on our own. But when you get around a horse, they help gently let it bubble up. Maybe it's a trauma from the past that, you just weren't able to get to, or just something you want to change in your life, but you don't quite know what it is. You're not clear. They can help you sort of, because we do a lot of somatic exploration when you're in a session. We'll like, close your eyes, let's do some breathing. And where does your attention go in your body? And you just sort of see where that happens. And so usually that's where something is that you're holding. It could be a limiting belief, it could be a trauma. And so we start to explore the sensory sensations, how you describe sensations, because often with those could be a feeling, it could be a belief, it could be an awareness that comes up. It's kind of, I find myself it's kind of hard to talk about because it's so experiential.
Sure. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. But when you're with the horse, sometimes I don't have to do much at all. And I'm like, what's going on? Oh, I'm becoming aware of that this pain in my hip is really about, my Uncle Fred and how, whatever it is. It's this awareness that starts to happen because there's a lot of knowledge stuck in our bodies, that's held in our bodies.
Yeah.
And that if we knew how to navigate that or tune into it, we could do it on our own. But I think, again, it's a new kind of area of exploration for humans. We've been such an intellectualized society, and we've got to look at the whole.
Well, I think, when you're saying it's hard to talk about, I think probably it's hard to talk about because what you're explaining that is successful about these sessions with the horses is we don't share a language, right? We share senses and we share those emotions and feelings. Mm-hmm. And I think that probably is why it's hard to describe because we're not using language to do the work, or you're not using it to do the work,
Mm-hmm.
And so, further to your point that maybe as humans we have become so stuck up in our heads.
And it's unexplored territory because if what has been said, 80 or 90% of communication is nonverbal.
Yeah.
And 10% or 20 is verbal. What are we doing with that 80 or 90? How aware are we of our body language, posture, eye focus, heart rate, breath rate?
Yeah.
Animals sense this.
Yes.
Certainly horses do.
Yeah.
They know from a mile away if a cougar is hungry or not.
Mm-hmm.
They know whether to move or not.
Mm-hmm.
That's how sensitive they are. But that's millions of years of, perfecting that. So, and we are very sensory creatures ourselves. And I think, again, it's sort of been overlooked or just shut down a bit.
Right.
But it's not serving us as humans. It's not serving us. So I feel like they are a way to start to open up to the rest of us, the rest of our wonderful self, and to start to let some of that stuff go and be in the flow, emotional flow instead of shutting some down. Because, there are unpleasant emotions. I don't call them, good or bad, but there's a lot of that in equine assisted coaching, training, as you start to realize how much emotions are stored in our bodies. And one's not better than the other, but there are more unpleasant ones because we just don't know how to navigate them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Things don't feel good.
Right. And we just need a little support.
I always think it's interesting when I learn about people who have built great, successful, and incredibly impactful things out of grief.
Mm-hmm.
When you reflect on that, I just wonder what comes to mind. That this beautiful thing has come out of a really, really difficult.
That beautiful things, come from death. Death gives life and rebirth. Mm. And it's a story of love, for sure. Because, of course, it hasn't always been easy, but I've learned so much along the way. The community, supporting, and I think knowing that, Dove Creek is a healing place. And a lot of people need to heal at times in their lives, and that we believe that, all beings, horses and humans, deserve a safe place to heal. And Dove Creek is that place for here. And that it has been a love story because I have opened up to so much more of that. I was, a pretty angry, mad person in those first few years.
Sure.
And especially when I would see an animal abused, it was really hard to have compassion Now, of course, that's all changed. Now I understand there's just people fall in hard times, life circumstances.
Yeah.
And while we get hard cases in, it does no good to fault the human. For one, we can't do anything about that. But I think deep within people, most people wouldn't do that intentionally. It's something else is much bigger in their lives than taking care of that horse.
Yeah.
While I don't like that, I just think it's reality. And I would love it to be us to be in a world where all animals are cared for. But I think we're making a difference. We are part of a larger organization, the Global Federation of Animal Sanctuaries, which is global. And
Wow.
we are accredited by them. And they, it's really about proving that you are sustainable and that you have protocols and systems in place to make sure you're operating at a really high standard. And that was really important to me. If we're going to do this, we're going to do it. Because there's not a lot of regulation with horse rescues. You kind of just have to go see how they do things in different places. Although I think it's getting better. There are definitely stellar ones in our country.
Yeah.
But we're one of, I think, 7 accredited in Texas.
Wow.
And and there's only like 200 and something in the world that are accredited. But I think the United States has more animal welfare issues than other places. But we're a large country, so
Yeah.
might be why. But
it must be so empowering to know that you're part of making a difference in the welfare and well-being of horses.
Yeah. I mean,
not to wonder, not to not to try.
We are. And we've just become an ASPCA partner, and that opens up our network a lot. And horses, all animals, but horses don't have a voice, so we've got to be their voice. And they have been here way longer than we have.
Yeah.
And they've been so much of a part of human evolution.
Yes.
And where we are today has a lot to do with horses and their domestication. And so, I don't want to say we owe them, but I think it's responsible stewards of the animals that are in our care. I feel like that's really important work. And our vision is to heal the heart of humanity through authentic partnership with horses. So authentic is that key word, partnership with horses. So that's a big vision, but after all we've talked about, they have that capacity, I think, to help a lot of people heal the broken heart of the world and help us become more of a cohesive, collaborative, compassionate herd. That's what I see them doing for us, because that's what's happening at Dove Creek.
This episode is sponsored by the Amarillo Art Institute at Arts in the Sunset. If you haven't been, this place is an amazing center for Amarillo's vibrant art scene. They have monthly events, including the First Friday Art Walk, which showcases the artists they have in residence, and they are some incredibly talented people with all sorts of wares and mediums. They also offer classes for children and adults in things like glass blowing, weaving, and pottery. It's super cool. Check them out on Facebook. That's Arts in the Sunset. I'm back with Laurie Higgins-Kerley. Laurie, this is the part of the show we call 8 Straight. I've got 8 questions for you. You ready?
Yes.
Okay. When you think of Amarillo 10 years from now, what do you hope for?
Well, Amarillo is doing a great job. I love it that it's a mid-sized city. I think that's some of that are real positive here.
Yeah.
But what I want to see more of is more services for youth, for teens, maybe even younger too. We see a lot of this troubled teens at Dove Creek, and I just feel like they need more free services. I would love to see Amarillo develop some community centers that incorporate not only education, on how to get better, but also counseling services, bringing teens together for community initiatives where they get involved with one another. And because, I think the median income here is around 60,000, somewhere around there. Parents are stressed. If both parents are working and you've got kids, how are the kids being nurtured and cared for? And it's hard. I think everybody is stressed. So I think what would be an antidote, and I'm always thinking about this because the horses are they're my prototype that I look at.
Sure.
And how do you build community? Because there's so much disconnection. There's isolation, there's addiction, there's suicide. I don't think needs are being met like they need to be. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. Of course it does in Amarillo because there's some amazing nonprofits. But I feel like going forward, youth are our future. And I want to see more attention given, free services given to youth in a diverse and variety, of ways, because counseling services are very important, but other adjunct therapies, such as equine assisted coaching, but, mindfulness, yoga, art therapy, music therapy. Just a variety of ways that connect kids and then connect them to each other. Yeah. So building stronger relationships for youth.
Other than wind, what does this area have too much of?
Not finding the common ground.
Yeah.
How do you say that? I don't know. Too much
polarization.
Polarization, I think too much polarization, yes. I believe that we could do better as a society, as a community, to find that common ground, learn to listen to each other, even if we don't agree.
Yeah.
But to me, community, strong community, if we study it, is about that. And then how can we come together? Maybe it's something very small, but how can we just listen to each other? That often is what's satisfying, is just to be heard. And maybe you can't come to a solution, but at least you heard each other. So I think more of that would help our community. As good as it is, we could be better.
Sure. What does this area not have enough of?
Well, because I come from a health background, that was my major at Ole Miss, was nutrition, and I was a dietitian for many years. Okay. I've always been very much into health and nutrition. I think we have in this town too many fast food restaurants, and that bothers me because I think parents are working, they're stressed. The easiest thing is to get fast food.
Totally.
And it's not healthy. It's not good for our bodies, and I think that can lead to some mental health issues.
Sure.
Yeah. Too many physical issues come from that. So I would love to see some of them go away.
What does this area not have enough of?
This is where I think we don't have enough tolerance to listen to one another and come together and find that common ground.
Yeah. We
could do better there.
What's your favorite local building?
I love the Santa Fe Depot because I love our Western heritage.
Yes.
At Dove Creek, because of where we are, that was a real thoroughfare for the tribal people and the Western heritage cowboys. So I love that that's still there and we can see that. And I didn't know that you could have events there. I wasn't aware of that, but it's so cool looking.
It is.
And, I love that. And then I love the Globe News Center.
Yes.
I was a cello player as a young person.
Nice.
So music is, I love symphony and all that. And just to go in to hear those acoustics, it's a wonderful high. So I love those two places.
Two very good picks. Very good. What's your favorite local restaurant?
Again, two, Cask and Cork and Metropolitan.
Love them.
They're both, stellar. And
there you go.
Kind of close to where we are in Canyon, so love them. They're just divine. And they're very different. Great.
They are.
Yeah.
How do you describe Amarillo to people not from here?
I always say we have everything. We have all the arts. For our size city, we have all the arts. And it's not just okay arts. We have amazing arts.
Yeah, for sure.
And that it's very different geography. You will never see this anywhere else. And there is a strong sense of community and there's generosity. I learned that when my late husband passed, of the community, people I didn't even know, how supportive people are. And that's the kind of place I do want to be. And I think, people are, open-minded and want to be forward-thinking. So for our size city, it's affordable. And we have the canyon. That's very cool.
It is.
To have such a beautiful geographical place of beauty and history.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
What is the most underrated aspect of living in the Texas Panhandle?
Let's see. Every time I leave, when I'm coming back, I'm always excited. So I think the people here are some of the kindest people that I've ever met.
Yeah.
It's easy to get along here. It's easy to fit in. It's a very family-centered place. Underrated. I think we really have some of everything that a big city does. We have good restaurants. We have the arts.
Mm-hmm.
We have the Western heritage and all the ways that's represented.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we have a lot of nonprofits. I mean, it's kind of got everything, but not the large population. And I hope it doesn't get there, but that's some of the unique. And we have the Western heritage, and and we still celebrate it,
right?
And that's not everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that there's the modern, progression that we have, and then we have the Western heritage, and I think that's people want to come here and experience it,
mm-hmm.
and it's still here and very much alive.
Yeah.
And I love that part.
I like that as well.
But I love horses, so
so it works.
Yeah.
So when was the last time you went to Paladuro Canyon? And I'm going to say because you kind of live in it, right? So
well, we live in an extension of it.
You're right.
Yeah.
So when was the last time for you that you went
park.
to PDC? Yeah, the park.
I go pretty often. I know. Oh gosh, it's probably been some months. I hike there. I love it.
Yeah.
I don't have a favorite trail because people ask me, and I'm like, I love them all.
Yeah.
I do go down there at times to because that canyon looks different than Dove Creek's. Dove Creek's is real wide, so it's kind of gotten more spread out, which is great for horses. But at Paladuro, all the colors and that show all the times,
the skirts,
those periods of time that, are so evident based on their color. So I go out there to reflect and I meditate and really just go somewhere else.
That concludes our 8th straight. I like to end episodes by asking my guests to endorse something. What would you have a listener know, learn about, try, get into if they haven't already?
I would want to endorse Dove Creek.
Of course.
Because we're so unique. And we have a great volunteer program. We have volunteers come 6 days a week.
Cool.
And all ages and families come. So a lot of opportunities. If you like horses, we also have burros and donkeys and mini horses, miniature horses, goats. Did I say that? So we have a barnyard as well. So it's really, of course, mostly what we have are horses. But it's really fun to be at Dove Creek because we're in a canyon. It's very different. You feel different. And then you're around all those animals and, feeding, mucking pens. There's quite a community down there.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So we're just really grateful for all the support, really, truly.
Yeah, you've built an incredible thing.
Thank you.
Thanks for sharing it with us.
Thank you for having me on.
Get into the holiday spirit with the Amarillo Symphony's Happy Holiday Pops concert. Join them on December 19th and 20th at the Globe News Center for an evening of your favorite holiday classics. From timeless carols to festive favorites, special guest vocalist Annika Spalding and the full symphony will fill the hall with the joy of the season. It's the perfect way to celebrate with family and friends. Visit amarillosymphony.org or call 806-376-8782 for more information. That concludes the episode. Thanks to Laurie for the interview. You can learn more about the Dove Creek Equine Rescue and Led by Horses at dovecreekequinerescue.org. Thanks to Ingenic Dental Studio, the Amarillo Art Institute, and the Amarillo Symphony for supporting this episode, and to Angelina Marie for editing every week. And a note to Angelina. This is her last week editing the podcast. She started more than 7 years ago with Jason Boyette, the original host, and has edited ever since then, edited through the host transition. And I am so thankful for her support and really excited for her next chapter. So, Angelina, thank you for your time with the Hey Amarillo podcast. We'll see you around. Thank you for listening. This has been episode 429 of Hey Amarillo. My name's Skylar Gallup, and I'll see you next week.